The Fever Dream of the Maltese Falcon, a Taipei Noir, year 2080. Episode 1. Am I in trouble, wonders Lummix? Quick, the gamma-3 protein levels are coming down. Where is the anthroplaxin receptor stimulator? She hears the intern say. The doctor is scolding the nurse. It's an emergency that could have been easily avoided. The nurse is protesting that she is overworked in this overcrowded hospital, and Miss Lummix Lee is doing better than the others. She says Miss Lummix was fine a minute ago. She was reading a real book. The nurse hands the doctor a real book, as in a made with paper, a bound book. She hands him a copy of The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett. The doctor hands it back with a bitter smile. Here's a sign Miss Lummix Lee is from the downside. She reads for entertainment. That too, a paper artifact. Don't they burn these things down there for warmth on winter evenings? The nurse shrugs her shoulders and smiles. It is a rhetorical question. They are both from the downside and know what that is like. Lummix tries to reach for the book. She already knows what will happen next in the novel. She just wants to see how it unfolds. The nurse gently takes her hand and moves it away. Lummix can feel the needle piercing her arm. More beeping. Damn these hospitals in the downside of new old Taipei. They are so primitive, but they are lucky that they have any hospitals at all down here. And she has access to one. So here she is, in the hospital, sick as a dog. It is evening before she feels well enough to sit up in her bed. The hospital nurse on duty breezes in, a tough, capable, middle-aged woman, all efficiency and good cheer. She has to be that way if she is to do this job at all. The downside is on the margins of a colonized country. In other words, it's on the margins of the margin. The nurse says, "There you are, Miss Lummix. How's your hangnail?" The nurse takes her bandaged hand and begins to unwrap it. "It's still going to need some time," the nurse says, spraying it with disinfectant. The second nurse walks in with a mysterious concoction on a tray. She says, "You have a visitor, but before you can see him, be my best patient and drink this." The nurse hands Lummix a bilious green liquid that tastes as horrible as it looks. As she swallows the last drop, Chung Ho walks in through the door. His real name is Chung Ho, after the heroic 15th century explorer. But sometime during his career as a police detective, his name went from Chung Ho to Chung Ho, hero to adult monkey. But he's not bad looking for a middle-aged man. Lummix supposes the monkey business refers to Chung Ho's weakness for bribery and corruption, if that means he can make a little more on the side. "Hi-ho, Lummix. How Joe Bujin? You look terrible," he announces cheerfully as he pulls up a chair next to her. "And I'm still better looking than you," says Lummix, by way of returning the greeting. "What brings you here?" "Just investigating the package you were involved with." "What about it?" asks Lummix, a little bit wary, because this Chung Ho is an old associate of hers from the old days when she was a police detective. They are not enemies, but they aren't friends either. She needs to be careful. "Yes, Chung Ho, what about this so-called package?" she prompts. Nothing. It's just routine. Just doing my job, Lummix." "Which I'm sure involves collecting more credits than you know what to do with," snorts Lummix. "The missus wants to go on vacation to the Republic of Hawaii," he protests, "and you know something about a package that a lot of people are interested in." And why would I tell you about it? Asked Lummix. The oldest reason there is in the world, which is to avoid trouble, says Chung Ho. Regretting it almost immediately, Lummix is known for seeking out trouble. And who are these people who are so interested? Asked Lummix. Important people, Lummix. Anytime there is anything to do with the virus, important people get involved. You know that. Ah, the virus, thinks Lummix, even as she starts to feel the pain creeping up her legs. At this point, the nurse bustles in. Time to go, my good man. I can't have the patient getting tired. We may be understaffed and underfunded out here in the downside, but some of us still care about our patients. Chung Ho, dismissed by the nurse, gives a look to Lummix that says, I'll be back. Lummix rolls her eyes and goes back to her book. The nurse hooks her back up to the painkillers, and Lummix starts reading. The Fever Dreams of the Maltese Falcon. The heat and humidity was coming down, and it was almost time to go home, but office hours weren't over yet. Lummix Lee sank into her chair in relief. Her knees were acting up again. The chair whirred, and two padded arms came out of the sides and started massaging her calves. Had a hard day, Lummix? Lummix sighed. Every day is a hard day, chair, so why don't you shut your trap and let me relax? She would really have to get that chair fixed. It talked too much. Excuse me, but I don't know the meaning of trap. Exasperated, Lummix got up and moved to the old-fashioned wooden chair, the one meant for clients. It wasn't the most comfortable, but at least it didn't talk. It would have to do. She moved a stool to the chair so that she could prop up her legs. As she did so, she caught sight of herself in the mirror that she used to monitor the backs of anybody who came into the office. She studied herself for a moment. Yes, she was decidedly middle-aged and looked it. The contours of her face and body had blurred, and her waist had all but disappeared, lost in gentle bulges. Never considered good-looking, even when she was younger, she is quite invisible now, the way older people are, unless she looked into her eyes. Deeply set into the softening folds of wrinkling flesh, those eyes glitter with a sharp intelligence. Come to think of it, all that soft-looking flesh hid the strength she had. She could lift a closet and throw it out of the window if she needed to. Lummix closed her eyes and slipped into a nap. Detective rule number 1, nap when you can. Then the doorbell rang. Nobody came to her office in person unless they were in trouble. Xiaohua, Lummix tele-helloed for her virtual assistant. Can you please see who it is? Okay, fine, came the voice from Xiaohua's speaker. The screen in the office lit up. Xiaohua, a lovely young woman in her mid-20s with perfectly coiffed pink hair and flawless skin, smiled. Hello, she said, and looked around, expecting to see who it was and who had rung the bell. She saw nothing. Hello? Anybody there? She asked again. A high voice, like a child's, answered. I need to see Miss Lummix Lee. Is she in? Xiaohua turned on the wide-angle view on the camera and moved it around. Still, the body that went with the voice moved into Xiaohua's field of vision. And indeed, it was a child. A boy of about 10. Maybe he was 14, but an underdeveloped 14. Don't you have a grown-up with you, kid? That's why I'm here, said the boy. I must see Miss Lee. His lips trembled. My sister is missing, and I don't know where to find her. You have an appointment? The kid looked in. He was skinny and short, with a face that seemed older than the body. Maybe it was the eyes, which had the shrewd look of an adult, and not that of a child, which wasn't unusual in the downside. There were lots of children who had to grow up before their time. This was the price you paid for living in a permanent epidemic. This is an emergency. The kid looked down, but not before Xiaohua caught a hint of tears in his eyes. Wait a minute, Xiaohua said, and she returned to Lummix's screen. It's a kid. You'd better see him. At Lummix's unimpressed grunt, Xiaohua blurted out. He's just a kid, Lummix. We need to help him. That got Lummix's attention. Had they updated the software on AI virtual assistants to show spontaneous attention? She looked over at Xiaohua on the screen. Nope, she looked non-committal as usual. Okay, sighed Lummix. Buzz him in. On it, said Xiaohua, and buzzed him in. The door opened tentatively, and the kid walked in. So your sister's missing. Can you tell me, kid, when did you last see her? Said Lummix, all business. Last time I saw Mei Ling was 2 weeks ago. She said she had to go to Taichung with her husband Luther, and she would tele-hello, and she hasn't tele-helloed. I tracked her phone. She never went to Taichung, but stayed on in New Old Taipei. And the last spot was a seedy hotel in Ximen. The kid's delivery was smooth. No hesitation. That meant something. Lummix looked at the kid. So what is it that you are not telling me? Let's get this straight, kid. You have to tell me everything, so let's start from the beginning. What is your name? Galileo Gao, but everybody calls me the kid. What's your real name? You know, your Chinese name. My parents called me Galileo. That's my real name. Lummix was skeptical and looked at. The kid continued. My parents were dreamers, thought I could reach for the stars. Meanwhile, I couldn't even get through the gate in an amusement park. A bitter look crossed the kid's face. That was a real flutter of emotion, thought Lummix. But here you are, grown up enough to track down your sister and her husband, Luther. A kid's got to do what he's got to do, said the kid, back to business. So tell me about Luther, said Lummix. Luther's about 35, short and stocky. Thing is that Luther is a gambler. I'm afraid he harmed my sister somehow, and it's connected with his gambling habit. I think he owed some very bad people money, and my sister is in trouble. Please find her, Miss Lee. I beg you to help me. She's my only family. I have no one else in the world. Lummix studied the kid's face for a moment, waiting for the tremor in the kid's voice to reach the expression in his eyes. It never did. Lummix continued to look. The kid seemed flustered at Lummix's poker face. I am sure it's expensive to hire you. Would this do? The kid brought out a 5,000 imperial note. Lummix held it up against the light. It checked out. It will do for the time being. Lummix didn't show it, but she was impressed. Cash wasn't so easy to come by these days, and for a kid to have a bill of high denomination meant that he had connections in the upside of town. The question was, of course, what was the kid doing in the downside? Well, actually, on the border of the upside and downside, if you really wanted to get nitpicky about it. So, kid, tell me where you think Luther and your sister will be. I have no idea, but I think you can find Luther in a warehouse right by the floodgate. How do you know? Asked Lummix. Luther had tele-helloed me from there. I tracked him to it. He said Mei Ling was fine, but I don't believe him. I need you to check for sure. Give me the coordinates for the warehouse. The kid took out his phone and beamed it to the terminal in Lummix's office. The numbers popped up. The first few digits made it clear that it was indeed by the floodgates of Wanhua. It's in the downside, said Lummix as she punched Xiaohua's tele-hello button. Xiaohua, can you check the exact location? She turned to the kid, who was looking anxious. While Xiaohua does that, I want you to go home and rest up. I will tele-hello you when I get something. A look of relief flooded the kid's face. Thank you, Miss Lummix. Can I call you Miss Lummix? Lummix grunted her assent, and the kid left. Xiaohua came back on. That warehouse is a gambling den, part of the floating illegal casino of the Mengjia mob. That makes sense. The kid did say Luther had a gambling habit. You will help him, won't you, Lummix? I'll never forgive you if you don't help that poor kid out. I'll certainly help him spend his 5,000 imperial dollars, that's for sure. I need a new chair to begin with, said Lummix. Xiaohua was still waiting for further instructions. Don't worry, Xiaohua, sweetheart. I won't let your maternal feelings down. We'll get the kid's sister back. I have no feelings, Lummix. I just do my job. Right, I forgot. You're a machine, and you're not supposed to have feelings. Xiaohua gave Lummix a look of exasperation. As Lummix picked up her shawl from the back of the chair and wrapped it around herself and stepped out of the office. Sometimes Lummix wondered if Xiaohua was a real person pretending to be an AI. It was illegal, but that was one of the few jobs an educated and smart downsider could get that paid somewhat decently. Whatever Xiaohua's gimmick was, she wasn't going to mess with it. The system worked for both of them. Subscribe to Taipei Noir on Spotify, Apple, and Google, or wherever you get your podcast. And please share with friends. Taipei Noir is distributed under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Non-Derivatives 4.0 International License, which means share it with your friends, but don't use it in your own work and don't sell it. See you on the downside.